Hey, YouTube. I've been thinking about how to develop my Alexander Technique course because right now it's what I made about a year ago and it's pretty good. People like it, but I really want to grow into it some more and make it as good as it can be. Like, what's the next step on my journey with this thing? And I realized that right now it's kind of like throwing a bunch of awareness games at people in an order that help people understand some key principles and apply it to their lives. But there's more that I can do. And I've been toying with the idea of creating some kind of framework, some kind of way of thinking about the skills that I'm teaching. And what's come to mind is a four-step process that I think Alexander Technique implies, requires. Unfortunately, the word that it spells out is not one I like, so I will be thinking about other ways of expressing this. But for now, I'm playing with notice, inhibit, choose, and express, which unfortunately spells nice. And I don't like that as an acronym, so we're playing with that. But let's step through each one and how AT relates to each of these things. So in any moment, there are a lot of things that you can be noticing. And my frame with these things is, in general, if you can't notice something, you can't respond to something. If it's outside of your awareness, it's not something that you can relate to. And I wrote an article for the Every bundle, which I'll link to below if you have access to that. And this is something I want to dig in a lot more and kind of explain quite clearly. So the first step in any situation is noticing what's my awareness doing, first of all, what's in my awareness, what might be outside of my awareness, and noticing in particular, am I about to engage in an activity or a choice or an action or some way of being, some habit that isn't constructive right now? Am I on autopilot? So once you've noticed, I've been triggered by something, I'm engaged in habitual mode, my awareness is collapsing around something perhaps, you can inhibit. And I want to make a much bigger deal of this in my course because inhibition really is the core of Alexander Technique teaching, where inhibition is like the constructive declining to give consent to something. It's a saying no in a way that doesn't cause further issues or even amplify the thing that you're trying to say no to or the behavior that you're about to engage in, the activity that's coming up for you, or even the way of doing it. So I would like to make inhibition much more key and core to what I'm doing. So that's the next step. You notice I'm about to go into habitual mode. I'm about to say something or do something that might not be the best thing here. Inhibit. And then from that point, you zoom out. You have a better view of the landscape of your options available. And then what? Okay, well, now I've inhibited. Now I haven't done the thing I would have done before. I have choice. See, choose. Given now that I'm stepping out of the habitual routine, that loop, that automatic loop, what do I want to do? What comes up for me? Where do I want to go with this? And from there, once you've made your choice, which, by the way, you continue to inhibit because it's easy to kind of go like, yes, I'll do this thing, but then slide back. You need to keep inhibiting as you do something else. And then once you've made your choice, you express that choice. You allow yourself to behave in a way that might seem unfamiliar, might seem strange, in the felt sense of it, but which is perhaps more true, more appropriate, more alive in some sense than what you would have done if you'd gone straight from trigger response, or however you want to frame this in that kind of habit loop mode. So like I was saying, this is perhaps not what I'd actually go with because I'm sure there's more to it. This is just the first time I've given thought to what's the kind of step-by-step process that I'm teaching. And I might find actually these two things are the same thing, or there's a missing step, or perhaps the order's different. But right now it feels most alive to say like notice, inhibit, choose, express is a pretty good frame. And then I can build the AT course around noticing, which is awareness games, expanding awareness, notice when your awareness has collapsed, get better at noticing things. And then I can go, okay, you've got that, practice that, now there's inhibition. Now you can have different frames of playing with inhibition, learning inhibition, which would involve awareness games as I do now. But there's a lot more I can bring in. And then when it comes to choice and expression, I can develop materials there that I don't have right now because the frame doesn't really allow for it. There's no container for it. And long term, I'd like to not just be Alexander Technique man, ultimately. I want Alexander Technique to be a frame, to be an input, but to bring in other stuff as well. So, for example, I'm taking Joe Hudson's connection course, the view model. That comes in as well in ways I'll talk about in a different video. I've just done a 2-day Tantra workshop, which is very much pointing at expression and new ways of being and a sense of aliveness that intersects again with the Alexander Technique in ways that I'm still discovering. And I just really want to have a container that allows for the intersections rather than teaching expanded awareness or just awareness type stuff, which is kind of where I frame myself right now. So that's current thinking. If you're interested, follow along. I will be providing more updates here. Since you went to the end, I'm guessing you watch most of my videos. I will be much more active on YouTube now rather than Twitter because it's much less reactive. Things seem to be more sustainable long term. So it's the cycle of people finding the stuff is much longer. And it's a good opportunity for me to really spend almost 8 minutes articulating something and see what comes up. So the more I do that, I think the more it'll help me to figure out what I'm really thinking here. Because I don't think it will be nice that ends up in the course, but by making videos like this, I can articulate what it and get closer to what it actually might be. And if you can hear the rooster in the background, I am in Bali. It's not early; it's actually gone noon, so I'm wondering why he's doing that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next time.